Brexit Britain was given a boost in its renewable energy endeavours after Dr. Danny Coles, a researcher in tidal energy, told express.co.uk about how scientists can predict the energy potential produced by tidal turbines for more than 100 years into the future. The UK and countries around the world are pushing for more renewable energy generation and usage in a bid to curb human-induced global warming. At the recent COP26 summit in Glasgow, it was widely agreed that the acceleration of the deployment of renewables was achievable in the next decade. The eventual deal drawn up was widely seen as a watered-down version of its former self after delegates agreed to a last-minute change in the proposed text by India to phase down rather than phase out the use of coal. Since leaving the EU, the UK has moved to become a science powerhouse, this including plans for a green industrial revolution. Last year, Prime Minister Boris Johnson outlined his 10-point plan for the transition, which covered clean energy, transport, nature and innovative technologies. The blueprint is intended as a guide for the UK to eradicate its contribution to climate change by 2050. One of the potentially game-changing renewable energy generating endeavours might be found in the rolling out of tidal turbines, construction similar to wind turbines but which are placed underwater. Dr. Danny Coles, from the University of Plymouth, who is currently researching the potential power of tidal turbines, believes that harnessing the UK's tides, too high and too low tides each day, could provide the country with 11% of its power. One of the key benefits of tidal stream energy, he says, is its predictability. Because of the way the Earth, the Moon and the Sun work together, scientists are able to predict the UK's tidal power potential for more than 100 years from now. This is in contrast to solar or wind, which are temperamental, and might provide relief in times of strain, like the recent energy crisis. Dr. Coles told express.co.uk, there is a large tidal stream energy resource in the UK. If we take the Pentland Firth in Scotland and Orkney waters, the Irish Sea and the Bristol Channel, the English Channel, they are all regions that exhibit fast-moving tidal flows that, if harnessed, can provide a reliable source of renewable power that doesn't rely on the weather. This is a really important point that differentiates tidal from wind and solar. Those two depend on the weather. If the wind's not blowing, we're not going to get a huge amount of wind power. But with tidal, the tides are driven by the Earth, the Moon and the Sun, and the relative motion between them. So we know exactly how much tidal power could be generated this time next week, or even 100 years from now. That's what it depends on, and that's where the real beauty lies in what tidal energy can offer. He went on to note a recent lull in the amount of wind in the UK, which brought wind power energy generation down by about 60% on typical levels seen in autumn. Paired with this was the fact that 50% of nuclear power stations around the UK were off for maintenance. And, at the same time, global demand for natural gas skyrocketed following geopolitical crises seen in Russia and Belarus. The UK usually uses natural gas as a backup if there are lulls in wind power or power stations are turned off. But, because the demand for gas was high, its price skyrocketed, and what ensued is what Dr. Coles described as a real energy security issue, where many people around the UK, and the world, temporarily could not afford to pay for energy, which in more dire circumstances might result in lights going out. He continued, what tidal energy can offer is that predictability. We know exactly how much energy or how much electricity tidal stream turbines can generate every month, and it's roughly the same amount every month. With that predictability, you also have foresight over when to shut down other power plants like the nuclear power plants if they need to be maintained and repaired. Because if you know you're going to have a strong spring tide coming through in a week from now, you know that actually, it will be okay to turn that other power plant off and repair it then, because we're going to have enough power from other sources, like tidal. Again, it's giving you that kind of ability to plan how to meet the future demand with generation technologies you have, which you just don't have with other sources, so that's where I think a lot of the benefit lies, but a lot of people aren't really talking about that yet. There are a string of major tidal turbine projects across the UK. These include the Magen project at Bentland Firth, the tidal array in Shetland, which currently has 0.4 megawatt installed, and the O2 device in Orkney, that is 2 megawatts. The Swansea Bay Tidal Lagoon is also something that has been touted as producing a significant chunk of the UK's energy needs. However, it is unclear whether it will ever take off after the UK government rejected its proposed funding needs. The contribution made by renewables to UK power generation has more than doubled since 2014. In 2020, renewables, mainly wind, solar, biomass and hydro, accounted for 43% of the UK's 312 terawatt-hour, of domestic power generation. Analysis by S&P Global Platts Analytics forecasts that nuclear power will account for 56% of the UK power demand in 2026. The prediction says wind output is set to double from the current level to 131 TWh a year.